Have you ever found yourself struggling to make suggestions in English, unsure of the correct phrases to use? We've all been there. It's a common hurdle when learning and mastering English, especially when you're in the midst of a conversation and you want to propose an idea or offer some advice. The art of making suggestions can be a bit tricky, but it doesn't have to be. Well, worry no more. We are here to help you master the art of making suggestions in English. Let's dive into the basic structures you can use when making suggestions. To start, a very common and informal way to suggest something is by using "how about." This structure is perfect when you're proposing an idea or an activity. For instance, how about we go for a walk after dinner? Or, how about trying that new Italian restaurant? Next up we have "what if we." It's a flexible phrase that can be used in various contexts, be it a strategic brainstorming session at work or planning a weekend getaway with friends. For example, what if we move the meeting to Tuesday, or what if we explore the city this weekend? Then there's "why don't we." This structure is similar to "how about," but is often used when you want to propose a solution to a problem or a dilemma. So you might say, "Why don't we order pizza since no one wants to cook tonight?" Or, "Why don't we split the tasks among us to finish the project faster?" Lastly, we have "we could." It's a more formal way to make a suggestion and is often used in professional settings. It suggests a possibility without imposing anything. For example, we could consider expanding our market to Europe. Or, we could hire a consultant to help us with the project. Each of these structures has its own nuances and appropriate contexts, but they all serve the same purpose: to propose an idea or a course of action in a polite and considerate manner. Remember, the key to making effective suggestions is not only about what you say, but also how you say it. It's about making the other person feel valued and included in the decision-making process. Now that you have a basic understanding of these structures, let's take a look at some practical examples. Now let's see these structures in action. Imagine you're hanging out with friends and one of them asks, "Where should we eat tonight?" You can reply with a suggestion like, "How about trying that new Italian place downtown?" Or, "I think we should check out the sushi bar on Main Street." So here you're using the structures "how about" and "I think we should" to make your suggestions. Let's move to another scenario. It's movie night at home and your family is undecided on what to watch. You can chime in with, "Why don't we watch that new action film?" Or, "We could watch the latest animated movie, it's supposed to be really good." Here you use "why don't we" and "we could" to make your suggestions. Now think about a problem-solving situation at work. Your team is stuck on a project and you have an idea. You can suggest, "We might consider outsourcing this part of the project," or, "It may be a good idea to bring in a consultant for this." In this professional setting, "we might consider" and "it may be a good idea to" are diplomatic ways to make suggestions. Let's shift to a more personal context. Suppose your friend is feeling stressed and asks for your advice. You could suggest, "Maybe you should take a day off and relax," or "You could try some yoga or meditation." Here, "maybe you should" and "you could try" are softer, friendlier ways to make suggestions. Now let's do a quick interactive exercise. I'll ask a question and you think of a suitable suggestion using the structures we've discussed. Ready? Here's the question: what should we do this weekend? Take a moment to think about your answer. Great. I'm sure you've come up with something interesting. Remember, there's no right answer here. The goal is to practice using these structures to make suggestions. Let's do one more. Here's the question: how can we increase our productivity at work? Again, take a moment to think about your suggestion. Well done. I hope this exercise has helped you understand how to use these structures to make suggestions in real-life situations. As you can see, these structures can be used in a variety of contexts to make suggestions. Now that you've seen some examples, let's practice with some daily English conversation. Let's imagine a few scenarios. Picture yourself at a coffee shop with a friend. You might say, "How about we try the new caramel latte?" Or perhaps you're planning a weekend getaway with your family. You could suggest, "What if we visit the beach this Saturday?" In these examples, the phrases "how about" and "what if" are used to introduce suggestions. Let's move on to another common situation. Imagine you and your colleagues are brainstorming ideas for a project. You could say, "I think we should conduct a market survey first." Here the phrase "I think we should" is used to make a polite and formal suggestion. Now picture yourself at a restaurant deciding what to order. You might suggest to your dining companion, "Let's order the grilled salmon, I've heard it's excellent here." The phrase "let's" is a casual, friendly way to make a suggestion. Here's another scenario. You're discussing a book club selection with your friends. You could propose, "Why don't we read To Kill a Mockingbird for our next meeting?" The phrase "why don't we" is another informal and friendly way to make a suggestion. Let's try a different context. Imagine you're a teacher discussing a study plan with a student. You might say, "You might want to focus on vocabulary before moving on to grammar." Here, "you might want to" is a polite and gentle way to make a suggestion, particularly useful in professional or educational settings. And finally, consider a situation where you're giving advice to a friend who's feeling unwell. You might suggest, "You should probably see a doctor if you're not feeling better by tomorrow." The phrase, "you should probably," is a considerate and caring way to make a suggestion. As you can see, the structure of your suggestion can change depending on the context and the level of formality required. Remember, the key is to keep your suggestion clear and polite, no matter what the situation. It's also important to note that making suggestions is a two-way street. When someone makes a suggestion to you, respond politely and consider their idea, even if you don't agree. Responding positively to suggestions encourages more open and productive conversations. So there you have it. You've learned several ways to make suggestions in English, and you've practiced with some daily conversation scenarios. The more you use these phrases, the more natural they will become. Don't worry if you don't get it right the first time. It's all about practice. Try to incorporate these structures into your daily conversations and see how they improve your English communication skills. Remember, practice makes perfect. The more you practice these structures, the more natural your suggestions will sound. Alright, we've covered a lot today. From basic structures to practical examples and even some daily English conversation practice. We've seen how making suggestions can be simple yet powerful in communication. We started with the basics, the should, could, and might structures that form the backbone of suggestions. We then moved on to practical examples showing you how these structures can be used in real-life situations. Remember the example about suggesting a movie to a friend? Or how about the one where we suggested a solution to a problem at work? We also delved into daily English conversation practice, reinforcing the importance of context and tone when making suggestions. The scenarios we played out, like suggesting a new restaurant to try or a book to read, are common occurrences that you might encounter in your daily life. But remember, the key to mastering the art of making suggestions in English is practice. The more you use these structures and apply them in your day-to-day conversations, the more natural they will become. And that's where we wrap up for today. But the journey doesn't end here. Keep practicing, keep exploring, and keep learning. Remember, every conversation is an opportunity to learn and grow. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more helpful English lessons. And if you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. Until next time, keep practicing and take care.